Thank you for this invitation. I take this opportunity to say many things. I will try to be short. I hope that all countries cooperating with Tunisia should review their cooperation with this government to avoid contribution to the ongoing undermining of human rights and of the independence of the judiciary that Tunisians have worked hard to secure since the 2011 revolution. I hope that in Europe, leaders, I think they should call on the Tunisian authorities to release all lawyers, politicians, journalists, and many others who have been arbitrarily detained now in Tunisia. Tunisian authorities must immediately stop their systematic interference in the judiciary and reverse all dishes that have undermined judicial independence, including by reentending those judges who were thoroughly detained and dismissed. The Tunisian authorities must stop trying civilians before military courts and ensure that the courts do not become a tool of repression in Tunisia. United Nations, for example, human rights call the Tunisian authorities to respect due process and fair trial standards in all judicial proceedings and to release immediately all those arbitrarily detained. As I said, including anyone detained in relation to the exercise of their rights to freedom of opinion, of expression. As you know, since July 2021, the authorities has also taken a series of measures that have undermined the independence of judiciary, including dissolving the High Judicial Council and the summary dismissal of 57 judges in Tunisia. UN too, for example, call on the authorities to work towards bringing justice sector legislation procedures and practice into line with applicable international norms and standards and through the separation of powers to uphold the independence of the judiciary and the rule of law. Sure, revolts across the regions, but it has not led to stability either economically or politically. But we cannot go back. We cannot accept what Kais Saied did. The return of democratic institution is very important. We must return to the initial constitution of 2014. We must engage a national dialogue because, as you say, the need of new electoral law that will establish an independent electoral body and revision of the electoral system to facilitate effective national policymaking, the establishment of policies that address critical issues such as corruption, security, sector reform, and public administration. The reestablishment of the balance of power among the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, because, as you know, Kais Saied hold all the powers in this moment, and increased voter and civic education to engage the public in national dialogue, consultation, and reforms that will impact the life, impact the daily lives of Tunisians. We must put an end to dividing the people. Kais Said and his supporters are on the right path, and the rest are traitors, agents, and conspirators. He eliminates any form of opposition. He does not believe in dialogue. He despises others. All his speeches spread the hate. His whole record is to put dozens of people who criticizes him in prison. I think that his action were legal and necessary to save Tunisia from chaos. He has called his critics, criminals, traitors, terrorists, and urged authorities to take action against them. Kais Said is more and more isolated now, and opposition is more and more united. That's what scares him now, I think. You see, mainly support for the migrants has thus morphed into support for a restoration of democracy and the formation of a barricade against the rising tide of authoritarianism following the dissolution of parliament and municipal councils. I don't know if you saw that UGTT is the country's largest and most powerful trade union. Has staged protests by thousands of members in 8 cities around the countries and accused Kais Said of trampling on a basic human rights. A political coalition, the National Salvation Front, has also defied orders and protested the arrest of scores of opposition figures, demanding the president step down. Opponents say that the situation in Tunisia is becoming increasingly unstable as inflation and the high cost of living continue to bite, and the country fracture along political, social, and regional lines. But for now, there are no signs that Said is prepared to back down on his harsh policy prescription, despite the international outcry. One Tunisian dryly tweeted, Robocook has turned to Terminator now. That's pretty, really.